Santa Claus. My home office that my wife also decorated
There you go.
already.
All right, guys, I guess we're
Go
on
for it.
now. So
Okay.
what's going on, everybody?
Hey.
Dustin Coiner from TrackDaz, and I'm here with everybody, unfortunately, except for Chuck. But I've got Kyle Wyman from KWR. I got Melissa from, she was with Altus this season, right? I don't know what, I don't
currently
really
currently unemployed.
She's broke and on unemployment. Sweet. And then we've got Richard Stanboli, that is the team boss of Monster Energy Attack Performance Yamaha Racing.
Something like that, yeah.
And then I've got Chris Ulrich here also from the Team Hammer. I'll just go with that.
Many things.
The M4 Suzuki team? Is that what you're, I don't know what the official thing is with you guys.
And I was just looking at Richard's background and seeing he's got all these trophies. So I'm going to go adjust my background for my one trophy.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Jesus Christ. Yeah,
I just got my Lego Ducati. I haven't built yet.
It's the one my wife lets me keep in the house, along with Santa Claus.
I have my Ronald Reagan book on the shelf too.
Well, you don't you have, Richard, don't you have a chrome crankshaft up there somewhere?
Too soon. Too soon.
Yeah, that might hit a sore spot, Melissa. Were you Mrs. Hayes at the time?
I was Mrs. Hayes, and
Oh,
I think when you got that chrome crankshaft, you also got a trophy with a giant steaming shit in it.
Yeah, no, that Chaz got that. I was just there to watch.
Yeah, so again, you know, Chuck Giachetto is obviously, he's got a health issue, so he was not able to join us for tonight. So unfortunately, we're not going to get to have fun talking with that guy, but let's just get right into it. You know, just watching the MotoAmerica season this year progress, and, you know, each of you had levels of success this year that, you know, I mean, Kyle was on the box. Melissa's stock 1000 rider was almost on the Superbike box, which was pretty cool. Richard won everything basically, and then Chris,
No.
Shut up, Richard.
Chris won 3 of them.
Yeah, well, I said basically won everything except for the few that Chris's guys won.
Yeah.
So.
And 5 Super Sport races and 9 Twins Cup races and, you know, other stuff.
All that other stuff. We're talking Superbike, man.
Right.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. We're talking about
Richard won that stuff. He only got 3 trophies.
Yeah. All right. So, how do you guys think it went? MotoAmerica. How do you think MotoAmerica went for the season?
Pick somebody.
I think that the fact that we got 9 races in, 9 events in, and let's see, the California round, the first round in Seattle didn't have fans, so 6 of 9 had fans. I think from that perspective, it went pretty well, you know, and plus they used the opportunity to get us on FS1, Eurosport, and increase the viewership. So that was great. I mean, they instead of just sitting back going, "What was me? What am I going to do?" They actually made something happen, which is a good thing about having racers run a series.
Right.
Yeah, what he said.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I know you guys probably got the email from MotoAmerica, right? And I mean, the numbers look like they were up. So, I mean, in spite of the jacked up COVID schedule, more people watched you guys going around circles than year before. So, I thought that was pretty cool. What do you guys think about how the rules are structured? Like, I mean, there's a lot of arguing on the internet, right? How it should make it cheaper, or, you know, we should keep everything the same. What do you guys, you know, Kyle, being privateer Superbike effort, you know, what do you think?
I mean, I think the rules package, the way it is now, I wouldn't be able to run a Ducati if it weren't, you know, open as far as like the electronics and stuff, because there's not really a kit system, you know. So I think the ability to bring a Ducati back into the series is a positive thing for everyone. And the system's pretty good. So, I mean, it's fairly easy to work with, and the Corsa guys are super easy to to communicate with, and they give us all sorts of information. So, I mean, as far as like electronics rules, I think that's really good. I mean, I don't know, you know, where we could make adjustments to make, you know, the participation grow. I think that, you know, where I sit, it's like, if you want to be in Superbike, find a way to be in Superbike, you know. Like when I did it in 2016, I had a super stock bike and I just entered Superbike, you know. And then just like when I could get a set of forks and triples, I would just add one bit at a time, you know, as I went on. And now, you know, now we've pretty much got a full blown Superbike. But, you know, just putting myself out there and just trying to like, you know, get into that class without saying I have to have this to go do it. And that's kind of what my approach was. So I think that, you know, the rules are there. You can do all this stuff. Doesn't mean you have to do all that stuff. Yeah, you have to do it to win. Right. But I think
even look at what Cam could do on a super stock bike this year. I feel
I know.
No, I'm just saying when people cry that it's too expensive to go Superbike racing, I think that's further proof that like the way Kyle went about it, like you can still achieve quite a bit of success if you're a talented rider. You can get yourself there where when the top guys on the best equipment have a bad day, you can get a good result. And that's how you do come across that money for that spare set of forks or the fancy triple clamps or whatever. So, I mean, it's hard for me, like, after seeing what Cam was able to do to like really fault the rules too much, because I think even as far as a stock 1,000 bike went, our bike probably could have even been better than it was. And he was, I mean, yeah, there's some tracks where we just didn't have anything for him, like at Indy or whatever. But I mean, he was still able to like get out there and show what he's capable of and like race and beat people that were like on quote super bikes. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I think that the whole Superbike Cup thing kind of proved that like the Superbike rules we have work.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with everything I've heard so far. I think the biggest thing for us for sure is rule consistency. If you have a rules package where people have to build their bikes or develop across a number of years, if they're changing every couple of years, let's say in 2022 they decide, okay, we're going to go to a generic ECU, and everyone's going to have to learn how to tune it. Well, everything you learned in the last 3-5 years, you throw it out the window. And now you have to go, if you want to win, you're going to have to go to tracks and test. And that costs a lot of money, more than these super bikes cost. You know, at one test, I mean, I could add it up for you guys, but it's ridiculous, especially if you have a 2-rider team and you have to rent a track. And you can't go to a track day and learn anything. So you can't do it for free. You have to rent a track somewhere. And you have to fly all the crew in, and you have to get fuel, you have to get tires, you have to get an ambulance. You can't risk someone falling down and getting hurt or dying because you don't have an ambulance. So all that stuff, insurance, all those things really add up. So if you want to be successful, it's very hard to switch. For an average guy, they can build up to it. I mean, right now we have, I won't say names, but we have just a regular old Joe racer that wants to buy one of the super bikes from last year. And he's going to get it full complement, all the Morelli stuff, all the stuff, one check, he gets it, he goes out, he gets our support for the whole year. And so that's a really easy way to walk into a Superbike without spending the initial dollars. He's going to have to pay something, but it won't be anywhere near what the retail value of these things are when you first build them. You know, but like Kyle said, you can build them over a number of years, and all the ECUs and all that stuff transfers one bike to the other as well. So I think MotoAmerica, you know, maybe they get apprehensive a little bit, like, oh, we don't have the showing we want. We really need to change the rules. I mean, every time they think about changing the rules, they never call me because they know what my answer is. You know, so they go, okay, he's in that column, so we won't even bother calling him. But I don't see changing strategies going to bring a bunch of people in. Like you and I always talked about, Dustin, is they need to help on the back end, like flights and hotels and maybe the rubber, all those things that are expendables, not an ECU. That thing will last 3, 4, 5 years.
Right.
So I don't get the whole throwing rules out the window and reshaping everything. You know, it's small incremental changes, nothing wild, and then the teams can build up to it.
What do you think, Chris?
I think that the big thing about some of where these rules came from really is they decided to go World Superbike rules in the hope that Honda or Kawasaki or someone was going to sign up, right? Honda came with what they came with. Kawasaki never showed up on the front door, and so that part was probably not the best strategy in terms of that goes. I take a little bit different view from the rest of the group on this stuff. I like cost containment. I like cost down. You know, Spec ECU, whatever we got. I don't, you know, I agree with the rule consistency, right? So if we got a rules package, we need to have it for a long time. But if the barrier to entry is lower and the perception of competitiveness is better, right? So if you perceive you can be competitive, you're going to roll in sign up for the disaster, you know, sign up for the season, light all your money on fire and see how you stack up. But that's why I think you see like the twins class, everybody that shows up in that thing thinks they maybe have a shot because it's supposed to be this class that's, you know, SVs and all this other things and some of the other classes. But if you have an opportunity to win, you're going to show up and you're more likely to try to spend your money in that platform, even if you're delusional and you're probably not going to win. So, you know, I'd like to see the cost come down, but there's, like the other parts of this group said, there's other ways, like maybe the tires and, you know, just make plane tickets free. I don't know, but the tire build for sure. Like on my end, the biggest thing that we spend money on is tires and personnel. But you know, you got to have competent personnel, and you got to buy a boatload of tires.
Well, perception isn't always reality, right? So I think everyone gets a reality check. I've seen a lot of guys come in and leave because they get a reality check. They have that perception. And I think it's a false perception because the best riders on the best bikes are always going to win. It doesn't matter what the rule structure is. So there's at that top class, there's always going to be the winners and losers. There isn't going to be a real big mix. It's that way. I mean, until Marquez hurt himself, it was that way in MotoGP. It's that way pretty much in World Superbike. But this year, it's been a little bit of a better mix because some of the other teams are a little bit more capable, like the Yamahas, for instance. They're able to run up front. Gerloff is learning his task. But other than that, the top riders always win. So do you defeat the top riders? How do you do that? If there's a talent pool, it's only so finite. You know, I don't think changing strategies or changing ECUs is going to change that. That's the reality of it all.
Yeah, I think the people that are going to race, the people that want to go racing are always going to go racing. And the people that want to cry fucking broke are just going to cry broke and say that's why they're not racing. Like, I mean, it's been that way for how long? And the fastest guys are always going to win. And the people getting beat are always going to say it's because they don't have the fancy swing arm. Like, it's the facts. Like, no one's going to say like, oh, I just got beat by that guy because he's better than me.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, words of wisdom from Meli.
Now I'm kind of tired of the whole, like, it seems like it's been more of a competition on who's in the worst spot, trying to, you know, who's outperforming their circumstance.
Yes.
You know, it's like, you know, I'd rather, you know, in Richard's position, he's expected to win and then does. Like, what's better than that? You know, it's like, that's what we're all trying to do. I think, you know, if you wave a magic wand for, you know, any of these potential teams who talk about going to Superbike and you just give them everything, they have everything they need, like, you're still looking at, you know, a 3 to 5 year commitment if you want to be a championship contender. So, you know, I think it's that slow build, whether you have the resources or not, like that's how it has to be anyway, because you got to learn how to be successful in this sport. It takes a long time, you know?
Yeah, there's a lot of guys that have come in the sport and tried to spend a lot of money and be successful, and then they take their purple truck and leave. So it's pretty interesting as far as that stuff goes. But experience counts, man. You know, like Stanboli, how many years have you been doing this? Since probably before a long time. I tested one of your R1s at Willow before the 24 hour in 01, and you're racing years before that with like Curtis Adams and that. So, you know, Kyle's been at it for a long time, and then my family's been at the racing game for 41 years. And so Melissa's been in it and Josh has been in it. And so it takes a lot of experience. You're not just going to roll in town and have that big success. You know, you can spend some money, buy some guys, but globally when it really gets tough late in the season, when you know, everything's kind of stacking up, that's when you have your problems. And usually when those guys get frustrated, and then the next thing you know, they're gone.
You know, one of the richest guys on the planet, Michael Jordan, had a go at it, and he didn't win a championship.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's always about what's that.
04 to 2013, right?
Something like that. Yeah, I don't know exactly, but you know, they went at it, and his complaint at the end, or the team's complaint at the end, was, oh, we can't get those works parts. But that's a bunch of BS too, because those works parts come from some factory somewhere that makes those, like Meli and Penkel and all those guys. All you got to do, and that guy had the resources, he had the money. All you got to do is call those guys and say, I want 10 cents of Penkel rods, and here's a check, and those guys will make it for you. So all those parts that are built in Japan are all farmed out. Almost all of them are. Valve springs are made at this company, camshafts are made at that company, and velocity stacks are printed at this other company, and it all comes together. And what happens is the Japanese go and source all this stuff. So you end up getting it through them. Doesn't mean you can't source it yourself. You know, just like all the stuff we have on our bike, not all of it comes from Japan. We build a lot of it here. If somebody wants to come over and say, a Michael Jordan type, and say, I want to buy that motorcycle. Here you go. That thing just won a championship. And we'll just roll that thing right on this truck. So I think some of it is a cop-out on a lot of people's parts. They either they want to be handed a result without working super hard at it. And it just doesn't work that way at this level. You know, it doesn't matter if you change the rules or change the money level. It's just never going to happen unless you work hard at it.
Yeah, you can't like make someone a winner who's not like doesn't have that fire burning in their heart to figure it out themselves or do whatever it takes to win. Like you can't like dumb the rules down to give like to make someone who's not a winner a winner.
Yeah, that's it.
That's great stuff, you guys. How about, you know, we just talked about we touched on the tire thing. What do you guys think if there was a way for MotoAmerica to kind of open up the tire thing again? I mean, do you think that would maybe attract more riders to the grid because they could maybe, you know, obtain sponsorships and stuff from those other tire manufacturers?
Well, I think this is an interesting question, right? So why is every series on the planet now, world championship or national championship, a spec tire now? Because at the end of the day, the tire companies probably can't be truly trusted. Like when Richard, when we were a Pirelli team, then you became a Pirelli team, right? Who were the only two guys getting special Pirellis?
Well, we were, but yeah, even those Pirellis weren't super special because
but they're the development, the tires.
They were development tires, and we actually developed some fronts for World Superbike.
Yeah,
because they would try them on our bikes and then would shuffle them over as a spec tire to World Superbike after we had a chance to try them.
The first 200 series rear tire that came over in the, you know, that was used was at Daytona in like 2007, and then, you know, it's a commercial tire a couple of years later. So
yeah,
the spec tire thing for, let's say for Team Hammer, what happened, right? We were a Michelin team, a Dunlop team. Then we had to go to Michelin for political reasons. Michelin pulled out in 2004. We went to Pirelli, and we were a Pirelli team until the series went spec tire. So we were always on the off brand for the U.S. And Pirelli invested quite a bit in the United States in the market to try to get the tires so it was pretty competitive. It was darn competitive by the time we were done with the project, and then they went spec tire. But we could, in those years, we could win 2 races. You know, across the classes that we did, whether it was FX or 750 Super Sport or whatever. Some years were better, right? The Hopkins years, you know, a few of those years, the Hayes years, those were better years for us on the tires. But then when we went to the spec tire deal, it was like Martin ripped off 9 wins the first season. We won so much stuff that we're getting torn down every week. You know, they were counting spokes and counting gear teeth, and well, spokes were pretty easy to count, but they were weighing wheels and checking the inside the hub. And that stuff wasn't happening to other teams that were winning before the Dunlop thing came down. So I think on the spec tire deal, while it hurt our pocketbook, it helped our success, which then we were able to recoup the money. And so it's kind of like, do you want to be able to show up with an even chance of everybody, or, you know, you want to play the game? So.
Yeah, I know for a fact and from experience that Dunlop used to pick the winners. when they had the hand-built tires they're bringing from England. They'd fly in only a certain amount. And there was one event at Sears Point, and as a matter of fact, Josh was riding our bike. And it was 2005, it might have been 4, but I think it was 2005. And they had unloaded a bunch of tires, gave us our list of tires, and they had one that was better that the factory guys were using, even though we were supposed to be a factory Superbike team at the time. And it was Honda, and it was
Yamaha. Was it the same compound, or just different?
No, it was a different compound,
right? Different
build, whatever, right? But we were on the B list, I guess, and those guys were on the A list. So the Spiezes and the Duhamels and all that, even Jake Zemke. And so apparently they had some cold cracking in some of the tires. So they came over and took our top tire, which was supposed to be our race tire, and said, we got to take these Hondas out of tires. I'm like, what? We're supposed to be on the same list as those guys were. So you can only imagine what the guys that were, let's say we were on the B level with the guys on the C level, the guy showing up with his box fan or whatever, trying to race. The very first time that we got a N-Tech tire was, again, with Hayes in 2004, and they just gave it to us and put it on at MotoAmerica. And we had been running the big balloon tires, those 205s, whatever they were. And it's a completely different setup. They gave it to us, and Josh went out and rode it, and came back and goes, this thing's horrible. Because we had way too much air pressure in the thing. We didn't even know we were supposed to run it at, 19 PSI or whatever, And so Matt Millad had been running that tire for a whole season before we even had a chance to look at it. So how are you going to win with tires that are one-offs for the factory guys? And I know that they're kind of playing the game where they want to make sure that the guys that they're sponsoring win the events and help them develop tires. But at some point, they just didn't have enough rubber to pass around to the B or C level guys. With the Spec tire thing, I think it does work with keeping the thing very fair. Because the first thing you can change on a bike to go the second faster is a tire, right? When you put a qualifier on, you go second faster. So if the other guy's tire works like a qualifier, then guess what? You're going to go a second slower. You have to work a lot harder. So I think the Spec tire thing works. I think what we said in the past was, want to open up to a few specs from a few manufacturers, like have Pirelli bring their spec and they document that spec, and have Bridgestone or whoever bring their spec. And then the privateer has a shot to, if you're a Dunlop guy and you're hired by Dunlop to ride that tire, you stick with that tire. And if you're a Bridgestone guy, maybe those guys sponsor you on rubber, and some of the guys downfield will have a chance to have some free rubber. And we didn't buy any tires from 1997 to the Spec tire rule. When was that? 2009. Nine. We didn't buy tires in 9 because Kawasaki still had a contract for rubber that went through 9. So we didn't buy any tires from 1997 to 2010, if you can imagine that. So when we went to Spec, we had to start buying rubber. So like you said, it hurts our pocketbook, but at the end, I guess it does make the racing much more fair.
Kyle, anything?
I mean, I can't really speak to it because my first pro race was Daytona 2009. So
yeah.
I don't know any.
Me too.
Yeah, like
the worst tires ever made in 2009.
Yeah, oh, man. That front, man. I was like, is this really how hard it's supposed to be? Like, this seems like I kept crashing, right? So
yeah,
no, it's yeah, I mean, I can't speak to it. I did throw some Pirelli World Superbike slicks on my Superbike the Monday after Laguna, which was pretty interesting. And I got 5 or 6 laps at the end of the day just to feel the difference. And is definitely a difference. It's hard to put them against each other really, but I mean, for me, that's always part of the budget. It's there. You kind of know what it's going to be. So at least it's kind of a fixed cost that you can plan for. Whereas other things are, they can fluctuate a lot throughout the year. So, I mean, it'd be cool to get a little bit of help in Superbike with tires. We have the biggest allotment. We have to have the most, in the rotation throughout the weekend. But, to me, that's not gonna make the difference. If we're talking about participation in the class, I don't think.
I think at the end of the day, though, the help for the tire bill comes from the premier money that the top teams are qualified to get, and so that really helps offset the cost. I mean, for us running, we got 2 super bikes, 2 super sport, a stock 1000, an SV, depends on what other customers show up or guys show up on the weekend. You know, we could have a tire bill from one weekend that's 20K. And so you look at that over 9 rounds, you know, that could be, thankfully it's not that big every week. But you know, we're talking somewhere around 150 grand for a season on tires alone with a big program. The Superbike program would be probably sitting at 6 grand a weekend. You know, if you have it rain, worst case scenario, 6 grand a weekend per for a 2-man. If you have some rain, or maybe your guys want to mount tires for 2 size wheels. I mean, 2 size swing arms with different wheels. But anyway, yeah, it's a big deal, but like, you know, it's become a fixed cost, and there's no real way of getting around it. And MotoAmerica has programs that really allow you to take that and you know, the way I envision everything when we do the budget stuff, it's like, okay, that money is for tires. That's what we're going to spend it on, because that's, you know, that's definitely a fixed cost, and it's something that's coming in that's guaranteed.
Yeah, the premier money is really important. I think that really helps all the teams. Yeah, and that was the only way we could have done it in 2018 with Heron. We finished 3rd in the championship, and we broke a couple of motorcycles in the process. But I mean, we had the potential of finishing 2nd in the championship that year as a privateer, and with very little budget and very little support. So I know it's possible, but that premier money went a long way. You know, so I don't think MotoAmerica goes far enough to let people know that there is some payback when they show up.
Yeah, there were a couple of years where with that premier money, like guaranteed budget there, and like having less than that in additional sponsorship locked in, at least I could go to a sponsor and say, hey, I'm going racing, right? I'm going to find my way to the track. You know, and then I could just kind of build from there. But yeah, I mean, if there were a couple of years, if that wasn't on the table, like it was going to be really hard for me to give any kind of certainty to sponsors or even crew guys who want to commit to a whole season, you know, so that was a big deal.
That kind of goes back into that Superbike Cup thing too, like we were talking about. I mean, I was hanging out with Melissa at Laguna a little bit, and I watched her trying to run away with Cameron's big, giant $25,000 check. So, like, talk to me about how impactful was that money from that Superbike Cup class for the program?
I mean, I think the whole concept of Superbike Cup was like really smart. I know like the main thing was just to like kind of fill the Superbike grid a little bit, but I mean, the riders who did it, they got 2 free sets of tires. So doing the extra 2 races a weekend really didn't cost you anything besides kilometers on your engine, which it's a stock engine, so who cares? It's gonna last forever. So like,
actually, it's 2,000 miles.
Yeah. Well,
forever?
What's that?
Not forever.
Well, for some teams, forever. But I don't know. Just seems like you get 2 free sets of tires, a chance to make a little bit of extra prize money, and then a chance at that huge check at the end of the year, which, let's be honest, there's only 3 guys that I think even really consistently did all the Superbike Cup races. So it was like a guaranteed kind of like payoff at the end of the year. And I don't think that Cam's program would have happened if it wasn't for that. You know, I mean, that basically that extra money is what probably allowed Altus to be able to put that deal together for him.
That's awesome, you guys.
You know what that replicates when MotoGP brought in the CRT bikes, because they didn't have very much involvement with the factories on the MotoGP level. There was like a dozen guys. You know, they needed 21, and they brought in the CRT thing. And as a matter of fact, Chris rode our CRT bike. I think I got the poster there still, him riding the thing on the cover of Road Racing World. But that allowed guys to get in and do CRT. And eventually the factory started filtering down last year's bikes onto those teams. Those teams became kind of permanent teams, or those slots got sold out for more permanent MotoGP teams to come in. Now they have a grid where you can't get it. You have to buy your way in there. You know, it's so impacted. So I think that was a smart idea. And I see MotoAmerica, if that's the direction they're going, I can see that happening where some of the bikes that we build or Chris builds or whoever start filtering down. A year-old motorcycle is not uncompetitive. Go ahead.
I think Cam Peterson's bike, I want to say, was at least a year or two old, and he won a championship on it. So
yeah, it was a 2019 VIN. So no, excuse me, it was a 2018 model because it didn't have a pivot. So yeah, they got that thing for miles at the end of 2018, and the spec, the spec hadn't changed either,
Just like CRT did for a couple riders, like I think Aleix Espargaro didn't have a ride in MotoGP, got on the CRT bike, and he would constantly stick that thing up there, with some of the prototypes. And just like Cam did this year, whether or not Cam gets an opportunity to get on a Superbike next year, but like Aleix would probably look back and say that he's in MotoGP full time because of those years, so like not only for teams to then put themselves in positions to get those kind of, last year's bikes and stuff, but for riders, if riders, see this opportunity with Superbike Cup, like you can actually turn it into something.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I hear Josh like kind of coach a lot of like other riders about that. Like you might not be riding around on the top level bike, but your job might not necessarily be to win the Superbike race, but your job is to beat someone that you shouldn't beat, just so that people will go, oh shit, what would he do if he was on a proper Superbike? And that was the conversation that I know he had with Cam Peterson all year. It was like, you just got to go out and beat a couple of guys that aren't supposed to get beat by a stock 1000 bike. And then people are going to be like, and so I think something like that is going to do nothing but create opportunities for riders, but also create opportunities for teams. Cause I think teams will look at it and go, man, this is like consistently running like 5th and 6th on a stock 1000 bike. Like, what if we did like just have a faster engine and just see where that got us? Or what if we did just like throw some forks at it and kind of do like you did, Kyle, and just slowly like build your way into a Superbike? So it's going to give riders opportunities with Superbike teams, and it's going to give like lower level teams that taste that maybe they could have some success in Superbike.
Well, let's put the question to the test. Richard, so was Cam Peterson on your radar before the start of 2020 at all?
No.
Is he now?
Yes. I mean, he's on the list with Yamaha. I know that for a fact.
Cam had been through my program already in 2016, and he wasn't anywhere near on the list in my program, and now he is. So, yeah. He put himself back on the map.
Yeah, well, that takes some guts too, right? I mean, some persistence, hard riding, all that. Get with somebody you're comfortable with, a team you're comfortable with that does the stuff you want, makes you feel comfortable. Sometimes it's more mental than it is the motorcycle or power or any of that stuff. When you feel right on a bike, and I've seen it with riders, they just perform. It doesn't matter what it is. You've seen guys with 600s running with 750s when we used to do the super sport gate where you could enter a 600 in a 750 class. Remember that? Ben Spies did that. Ben Spies did that on our bike. And I think Tommy Hayden did that when Josh was riding our Suzuki. So you can see it sometimes with 600 guys with the 750s, and they just run good because they feel good on the motorcycle.
Yeah, I think we also had an advantage in some ways, like not against like a team like M4 or a team like the Attack guys. Like one advantage we have versus some of the smaller Superbike teams is we couldn't complicate shit too much. Like we could never like get ourselves in some weird like no man's land. Even like that one race that looked like it was going to be a rain race and turned out to be pretty much dry. Like someone was asking me like, what'd you guys do with setup? And I was like, nothing. We had no spare shock. We had nothing to do to the forks. Like we got lucky, like, cause we had our dry setup or like not make the start trying to change things to a wet setup. So, that's a pretty extreme example, but you see people like start throwing all these fancy Superbike parts at stuff and they get themselves totally lost. Like even when Josh first went to the factory Yamaha team, I remember the first couple races, like he was in a panic and then they basically dumbed the thing down to a stock bike and worked their way back to it. So I think in some ways, like keeping things simple until you understand what you're dealing with is smart, and like have a plan and be methodical about it instead of just going and buying every fancy anodized fucking expensive ass part and throwing it at a bike and seeing what happens.
Well, Richard doesn't do it. He just makes them.
Yeah. Well.
I like fancy, smart ass looking anodized parts.
Well, I mean, it's good. It's good for your business when people want to do that. I understand that. But I mean, like, you know, there's like a $1,200 Olin shock and there's like a $12,000 Olin shock. And unless you've got like some really fucking smart people there, you're not going to do any better with the $12,000 one than you are with the 1,200. Like, you need the fucking brain power to make it do whatever the hell it does.
You know, like the crux of the whole thing, right? So you have pivot up, you have pivot down, you have rake offsets, you have or offsets, you have rake cups, you have stem, move the stem this way and move the stem that way and move it up and around and this way and that way.
Yeah.
That even the most seasoned professional can get lost in that stuff. So I've seen it with my own eyes. It ain't magic. You still gotta
I agree.
Still got to twist the throttle. You still got to make stuff happen. You got to make it happen. That's it. You can.
So I've got some fan questions coming in, guys. Greg Arnold wants to know, he says he's been watching the races the last few years, and what is the opinions of this group regarding MotoAmerica's race control and consistent application of the rules this season?
How's your arm, Greg?
I'm going to mute myself.
He's Greg's got a broken arm right now, if that's the same Greg Arnold. Anyway,
take it away, Chris.
I don't know, man. I think it was better when Thomas Stevens was race director, but you know, the application of the line rule at Indy wasn't so good. You know, some of the stuff like the safety stuff, it's good. You know, I like they do a good job. They week in, week out, right? I'm either in the truck going and checking out air fence. If they have a problem, if some rider's got a problem, you know, they can communicate to me or communicate to them. You know, Josh Hayes helps a bit. You know, so that's good. Some of the other stuff, way better than DMG days, but the last few rounds, you know, little bit at least at Laguna they got the track limits thing sorted out. So
I feel like better than with DMG. Like when I used to feel like every time I went to the racetrack, like I was gonna get in a fucking fight with someone because you just had that angsty feeling of like us against them, and it was not nice. And like I can say 1,000% that's better with MotoAmerica. And I've always been the first one to be like, no, these guys are doing a really good job. I'm like super happy. But the application of the line rule thing at Indy was like a giant clusterfuck in my opinion. And like I talked around it in circles with so many different people in MotoAmerica shirts, and it sucked. It left a really bad taste in my mouth. You know, like I can't deny on video, like Cam Peterson crossed that line, but even them explaining the math of how they came up with the advantage he gained by it was like, I mean, I know I'm a girl and girls aren't so good at math, but it didn't make any,
my sister's a scientist at NASA.
Well,
she's pretty good at math.
She probably didn't ditch school as much as I did, but
yeah. I heard you were an accounting major.
It's a secret.
That's what auto training's for.
No, it was frustrating to me. Like they were taking like an entire segment and then like judging how the time in that segment was changed by something that took a millisecond and not taking into account what happened in 3 or 4 other turns. And I admit it's super hard to quantify. Like, I don't know how you quantify it. So what you do is you tell the speedway, put some fucking curbs down or we can't come race here because it's going to be a nightmare to officiate, you know?
I think on that, right, the application of that. So why was Cam penalized and not Zanetti?
Yeah, I was like literally like texting our rider rep during the race. I'm like, Zanetti crossed the line, and they're like, well, we looked and he didn't gain an advantage. Well, and I'm like,
how do you judge that? So, you know,
yeah, they were literally looking at their segment times. They were looking at the segment times and they're like, well, that wasn't even as fast as segment time. And I'm like, how do you know he didn't botch the turn before? Like a segment is like 30 seconds long and we're talking about tenths. Like it's stupid. It's impossible to quantify.
No, so you do what they did at Laguna, right? You in the last corner, they set the rule. They said if you go in this part, you're going to have your lap taken away. And so then, golf, and Bobby goes out there, gets the thing sideways, does whatever lap time, which would have put him on the front row, lap taken away. And it's like, well, there's no arguing because they said if you cross the line right here and you go into the green stuff, your lap's done. It's like, okay, show me the video that he did it. Okay, well, he did it.
Yeah.
All right, see you guys later,
Yeah.
So,
I mean, like, I want to get really mad about it, but I can say, like, other than that, like, I can't complain. Like, I feel like they've done a pretty good job with, like, a lot of other stuff. But, Thomas Stevens was doing a really good job, and I miss him.
Yeah, from our perspective, the season was pretty seamless, minus Indianapolis.
Yeah.
Indianapolis was like, when did we show up to a club race? What's going on here? I think club race guys were doing a better job. If they're going to have a rule like that, no crossing a line rule, they should just go off of what the FIM does or MotoGP does and just say these are the rules. That's what it is. You cross, this is the penalty. You get, 1 or 2 or 3, whatever accidental crosses across that line. After that, we're penalizing you, long lap or whatever they want to do. They just stick with one set of rules. They make everyone clear on it and not this fancy math you're talking about. Advantage, no advantage.
Based on the FIM rulebook?
What's that?
Isn't our rulebook based on the FIM rulebook?
Yeah, when it's convenient, I think it's based on the FIM rulebook, but not always.
What Richard's saying would have been the logical way for Indy, right? There's some other missteps at Indy, like the oil stuff going on in turn 3. And look, it was a really good opportunity for us to go to Indy. And I think the track's great. And I guarantee when we go back there, those guys are going to have all that stuff written down on their list, especially in terms of like the corner workers and all that stuff.
I had no help when I crashed out of the last corner.
I saw that.
And the bike was laying there, and that shouldn't have been a red flag. I mean, like there should have been somebody there to help out. I was not able to go get my bike off the racetrack at the time. So yeah, I thought I was going to see the whole field come by with my bike in the middle of the track. They got the red flag out like a corner before. So
yeah, you were in a little pain in some interesting spots.
Yeah, I was.
I mean, I just kind of keep telling myself, like, we're all allowed to have a bad day at work. So hopefully that's just what happened there, and going forward, it'll be better.
Yeah, my recommendation was send the corner workers to the gym, because them trying to pick up Tony's bike was just embarrassing.
That's true. Oh, man.
Like, generally, going back to what Melissa was saying about the vibe in the paddock, like, look, when we got a complaint, they listened to us. When we have a discussion, they listen to us. They're really up on the safety. Indy was rough, but by the time we got to Laguna, they had a solution ready to go so they could avoid situations like Indy. So overall, man, they're doing a really good job. And yeah, Indy was rough.
I agree.
Well, and the Ridge was a little bit rough in a couple ways too, but these are both 2 tracks that we've never hosted our own MotoAmerica event at. So I mean, there's a lot of stuff they got to go through, I'm sure.
My favorite part of Indy was the bikes crashing.
Leaving,
yeah. The wheels coming up on the airplane. No, I mean, I don't know what they have in the grass, but it was like landing on pillows for the motorcycles. I've never seen bikes fall down so much and get no scratches on. It was amazing.
The Ridge is not like
the
that.
Ridge.
The Ridge. No, we had one destroy the Ridge on Thursday. It was bad.
Melissa helped me replace my 4-foot long divot from me digging the rear wheel and snapping the swing arm in half.
Oh, when
you see videos. Like when you see videos of them like sending out search parties in the woods to look for like missing children, and like everyone's like walking holding hands so they don't miss anything.
Arms out. Yeah.
That's what we were doing in Kyle's debris field to find like some random sensor. It's like, and in the end, our nanny Wendy was like the hero of the day because she found like the sensor or whatever the F you were looking for.
Yeah, she found the fuel pump lead, which it's a big crash if you have to look for the fuel pump lead.
That is a big crash. I just remember Chris Ulrich walking along the tree line at VIR looking for his motorcycle.
Yeah, that was That thing was it was down in through the trees and underneath like some shrubs. Yeah, I'd given up. All we had to do was replace the brake lever.
Chris, didn't you also have a Motec Dash crash itself so far off course it ended up in a spectator's RV once?
No, that was Martine's bike at Sonoma, and that particular spectator decided to hop to steal it.
Yeah, they did have to pick one of Josh's Yamaha dashes out of a tree and turn one at Road Atlanta also.
That's good. No, my dash was done by a person.
So I got some more fan questions. Some of them are they asked them before this video started, and some of them are from live comments. Daniel Goodnight says, why are so many big money sponsors / names pulling back from MotoAmerica? It seems like there's plenty of racer interest in the country and for outside, but why can't the teams keep or find good backing?
Who wants to go first?
I think if we knew the answer to that, we'd all have a whole shit ton of money and some really fancy superbikes.
Well, I think that for one, like the series keeps growing, right? So year over year, we have some good interest, and the shows have decent TV numbers. And I got pretty close to a company before COVID, and then COVID hit and exploded. So that was one of the challenges, because there's a little bit of risk with a live event, especially if we don't know what's going on. You see what happened with the NCAA tournament and all this other stuff that they spend way, way more money and they have huge audiences compared to what we do. I don't know. Nobody really knows the answer to that question. I guarantee no one on this roundtable knows the answer. I don't think anybody at MotoAmerica knows the answer, or anybody in the motorcycle industry. I do know that the Supercross side still has decent sponsors in terms of energy drinks. I know they just lost Geico. And there's a couple other ones that might be bailing out, but we had good numbers and good ratings and good TV up until 2012, and then 13 wasn't so good, 14 was horrible, and then we kind of got back at 15, and we've been building each year. So now the transition between 18 and 19, and then 19 and 20. Those years when I've been able to get myself into a company where they've had somebody that was sympathetic to motorsport and looked at it, they've actually said, okay, I'll look at your proposal. Well, I mean, that was way better than, okay, hey, pound sand, Chris. Or, not even respond. I mean, at least some of the companies that were more respectful would just tell me that they're not interested. So, so it's consistency with the TV package, it's consistency with the growth, it's consistency with everything. And there's different sponsors that want different things. Like certain companies want a big social presence. Certain companies only want to look at broadcast, viewership, only TV. I got in with one and it was like, okay, what are we talking about? Oh, we only want to know about the broadcast on FS2 and this channel. Well, do you want to know how many social followers my riders got? No, don't care. We only want to know this. Other ones, are all about the social and the combination. So there's going to be, you got to have the combination of all the stuff, right? But like the biggest thing is we got to have consistency. We got to have consistent TV, big TV, on a good channel like FS2, FS1, NBCSN. Super sport guys being on MAV is a good thing for the super sport class. The international stuff going to Eurosport, that's all good. That's all broadcast, free to air, or pay channel, whatever it is. In terms of you can just get it in households and go. Got to have that for a few more years, I think, and then we're going to be able to open some more doors. But I mean, right now we do have some interest, but then we also have some other companies that are looking at it in what I think is not the correct way. Because another thing that we got going on is we're in the United States, we're in a big market, the largest motorcycle market on the planet. And all impressions are local, right? It's more impressive, say, Dustin, you come to a racetrack and you watch Gagne rip around you at the ridge at the test and you scratch your head going, dude, how'd that go, right? It's the ability to go to your favorite track, your local track, to be able to go in there and go, hey, look, man, I want to watch my guys. I want to watch Bobby Fong. I want to watch, Gagne, I don't watch Beaubier. I want to do this stuff. And, the fan base, while there is some crossover, there's also a lot of guys that are just here to watch the US guys. So, there's a lot of opportunity within the paddock. We got to find the right companies that want to come in here and spend the money with us, and we got to price it right and then grow the opportunity. But the number one thing is we have to have consistency in TV, and we've had it for the last couple of seasons, and we need to continue that going forward. And MotoAmerica investing in doing their own production and controlling their destiny, and not being beholden to one channel has really helped that. And you got to thank Richard Varner and Chuck and Wayne and all those guys for actually sorting that out and making it happen. Rant over.
I think. Yeah, I mean, I'm sitting on a big potential deal that wouldn't have presented itself if we didn't have the TV numbers that we got this year. So I think that there's, and even, I mean, I think somebody said like we sold the same amount of tickets this year, even though we had 6 spectator events only as we did all of last year. And, I think that shows that it does continue to grow. People want to come see the show. And, I just finished putting together reports for all of my current sponsors and getting them just kind of a lay of the land on how things actually went this year as far as, social media, TV, everything, just to give them, an idea of where their money went. And we kind of grew in every category, like even as a team and as a series. So, I think, we have all the reason to go sell to new sponsors, ask current sponsors if they can increase for next year. So, I mean, it's a slow build. It just takes a lot of time. Like you're saying, it's got to be consistent. It's got to happen year over year over year over year. Otherwise, it's just not all going to happen at once. So there's that lag, there's a lag of teams pulling out and sponsors pulling out. When things start to go bad, they stick around for a few more years. There's a lag when they come back or new sponsors come in. They got to see that there's consistency and, a real path to this being sustainable. So.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with both Kyle and Chris. If the series is consistent and it keeps increasing its TV and its social and all those things as a package, then the series is going to get stronger. As the series gets stronger, it brings in more sponsors. That allows us to, whatever you want to call it, bottom feed off them or whatever. But that allows us to maybe get a little bit better show money and things like that. If the series is going to hand down, then that's the way they can get more people to show up and fill the grid to the point where the grid will be a finite amount of spots. So they go, okay, we're going to have only 22 Superbikes, like in World Superbike or MotoGP. You have these slots. And now we're able to put on a really good show because we can help fund some of these teams. And that's the way it's done in MotoGP. All those, I think in 2012, IRDA told me that the teams get 1.2 million euros per rider for those slots in MotoGP. So I might have misunderstood that, whether it was both riders or one rider. I was pretty sure it was one rider. So I know that's not a lot of money in MotoGP language, but that gets you a full-fledged factory Superbike for that money. And then if you're in the MotoGP paddock, you can go out and get other sponsors. It's a lot easier to get sponsors when you have millions of viewers. So as this series grows, that's going to happen. In the past, what Chris was talking about, how viewership went down, basically DMG lied to us. They came out and said, we're going to turn this thing into NASCAR. We're going to find you sponsors, blah, blah, blah. All that stuff was BS. They completely lied to everyone in the paddock. They drove that thing in the ground. They shoot away all the factories that were there. I remember the Kawasaki guys, the Japanese guy that ran Kawasaki Racing internationally. He said to me personally, he said, DMG no good, I'm sorry. And that's when they took their toys and ran away. And so those guys thought they had this big grand picture. We're going to get rid of all the factory sponsorship. We're going to make this thing like NASCAR. We're going to put whatever sponsors in everybody's motorcycle. We're going to make all the bikes the same. We're going to get rid of all the team numbers or the numbers that are associated with riders. We're going to assign numbers to teams. They just flipped the thing on its head. Big wholesale changes and ruined it. And now MotoAmerica stepped in. They've been trying to recover this thing from the ash heap. So it's been taking a few years, but there's been some light at the end of the tunnel this year, the way I see it. I know we had a fairly successful year, but I see it across the board that it's actually growing. And maybe COVID gave it a little kick, because our business has been better with COVID because people aren't going on vacation and doing all those things. They're spending money with us. And so maybe more people were tuning in as well. They weren't occupied by whatever, long dinners or drinking at a bar or whatever. You know, turn on something. Politics is terrible, so you might as well watch racing.
Well, and the vacancies left on the TV slots for FS1 when MotoAmerica was the first motorcycle race, one of the first motorsports events to race after the shutdown. That then all of a sudden Fox Sports is like, wow, this generated some pretty good interest. So even when every other sport came back, they found time for us on FS1 because they knew we could bring the viewership. So big opportunity, I think, capitalized on as far as us getting the numbers that we're able to show all these sponsors now.
Yeah, true. That was either masterful or lucky, but they did a good job getting into that slot and being one of the first racing series, motorcycle racing internationally. We had people watching around the world.
The production's good enough that, it wasn't a complete shit show when they ran on an FS1 and people didn't like it. So, I mean, opportunity taken advantage of for sure. Yeah,
that was a good move for sure. Getting the thing going early.
Yeah. So here's some more questions as well. One of Richard's crewmen, actually, Mike Canfield, says, well, I think we already kind of covered this basically, but your guys' thoughts on lowering the cost of participation versus increasing the value of participation as a long-term solution for viability of the series. So I think we've kind of pretty much covered that. But then I have to add his last part, and he says, oh yeah, what about the baggers, bro?
I'm in.
I wanted to hate on them. Like, I wanted to hate on those baggers so bad, but it was actually fun.
Go ahead, Mel.
I was just saying, like, I wanted to hate on the whole concept. I was like, it's so effing stupid. And then I watched Tyler O'Hara being Tyler O'Hara, and I was like, okay, that's pretty cool, actually. Like, I can't even hate on that.
Yeah, I mean, Richard was pretty not down for it, but I did point out to Richard that the fast guys were going faster on those fucking bagger things than the classic Superbike guys were going.
They were going fast. A couple of them went faster than some of the guys in the stock 1,000 class. Swear to God.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. Yep.
I follow Bostrom around.
If I'm that dude, I'm like slitting my wrists right now. It's like,
I'm pretty sympathetic to the whole Harley thing. Kind of grew up in a Harley dealership and raced the Harleys. And
do it.
I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the XR 1200 series. That's when I started my whole thing, and then was able to move up to Superbike. So I probably wouldn't be around. So I love
both Bostroms.
Yep.
Jake Zemke. There's a lot of guys that came up through there.
Yates.
Yep.
Yates, yeah.
The Bostroms too, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I had to follow Ben around, film some stuff for the series, and follow Ben around, and he came out of pit lane a little quicker than I expected, and I was like, oh, okay, wow, it was impressive to see how quick he was going, and he wasn't even going the fastest of all those guys, and so they did a pretty good job with that thing. It was quite the spectacle, got a lot of views, so I'm trying to figure out which trying to get them to let me build a Suzuki.
You're gonna build
and the one my brother rode was turbocharged.
Yeah, you could hear that.
Yeah, turbo on it.
Plenty of room for nitrous in those bags.
Oh yeah.
I don't care. I just want to be in something with 5 million views. We'll figure it out.
Yeah,
that's
so
undeniable.
Adding to that, Jeff Schaff, he says that he asked us if you guys think the bagger quote unquote clown show was just an attempt to inject more viewers, and do any of the panel think will actually be helpful for adding viewership to the Superbike series?
Yeah,
I mean, we can call it a clown show, but did anyone see like the transporters that most of those guys showed up in?
I did.
They were nicer than the rest of our shit, so there's obviously money there. So I mean, we can bag on it. See what I did there? As much as we want, but I mean, a lot of people liked watching it, and I mean, I feel like those are expensive bikes, and people that buy them can afford to come to races and pay for programming, and so.
You know what I hate? I could talk about this forever.
I joked with Richard when we did our YouTube thing a couple weeks ago, and when I rolled into the paddock at Laguna, it looked like a baggers event that happened to invite some superbikes. So
the whole idea that we can break down motorcycling into sub segments and pit them against each other, like as if the motorcycle community isn't already small enough as it is just like asinine to me.
Stupid.
Like we're all motorcyclists, so like it's just stupid.
Look,
I could go on about that.
If those guys, I told Chuck the other day, I was like, dude, you need to put bagger highlights in the middle of the Superbike show. It's screw it, or open it, or whatever, man. One commercial break, you come back in with bagger highlights, and
I think the bagger thing works as a novelty. Yeah. I'm not sure if a national race series would work, because I'm not sure those guys will want to go do all the races. I think they have fun building those bikes and showing up to one novelty race, but if you got to do it weekend after weekend, then it starts becoming serious and it's not fun anymore and all that kind of good stuff.
No, I think there's something to that.
Yeah, the novelty factor I think was pretty important, but I was definitely impressed by the preparation on some of the parts of those guys and how much effort they went through and bringing out their semis and their nice toy haulers. And it's one thing about the Harley group, man, they know how to spend money on chrome and nice looking stuff.
I was all about it. I got to be honest with you. I'm not even that kind of dude. I'm not into that kind of riding, but I mean, watching those dudes rip wheelies off the top of corkscrew, I was like, yeah. So
I enjoyed wheelies. Weird.
Yeah. So okay. So there's a few guys that have multiple questions. So I'm just gonna. They have questions for each of you. So like Marcus Jackson, he's one of the TrackDaz crew, and he's Marine Corps hard ass guy. I think he's actually on the verge of retirement.
Sergeant Major Jackson, right?
What?
Sergeant Major Jackson.
No, you're thinking of Chamberlain.
Chamberlain.
Jackson was the guy that was like the senior drill instructor and like the hat wearing wacko.
Got you. I remember.
Hair hat and all that.
Yeah.
So he says for Richard, who are the candidates they are looking into to replace Cam? What's the off-season plan to make Jake the number one rider next year?
There is no number one rider on our team. There never was. If Jake came out and was beating Cameron nonstop.
Number one on his
Sorry?
That's
Our bikes are always identical. As a matter of fact, Jake's side had more crew than Cameron's side, because I was a multi-role person. I was doing the crew chiefing and the data. So we were shy, a data guy, let's say, if I was actually the crew chief. And on top of that, we interjected a suspension guy on that side too on occasion. So Jake actually had more support this year than Cameron did on the team. But that's only because he was learning the motorcycle and still kind of getting his mind off the BMW and the Honda and all the other things that he rode for, or, whatever bad habits he picked up over at that factory team, whatever it was called. Factory Road Race, is that what it was?
Road Race Factory.
Road Race Factory. The use of the dirt bike mentality and the little tiny bike in a mud field, all that kind of stuff. Take that and throw it out the window and start learning how to ride a road race bike. So anyway, look at Melissa. I call a spade, man.
I mean, don't knock it till you try. It's really fun riding little dirt bikes in a mud field.
Oh, it's fun to ride a little dirt bike, but it's way more fun to win Superbike races.
Yeah, well.
Last time you rode a bike.
So what's that?
The last time you rode a bike?
About the same time you rode our CRT bike.
Damn.
Yeah.
Jesus.
I bought him a helmet back then, and it's probably still sitting in the box in his office.
No, it's not there. I wore it.
Okay.
Yeah.
You wear it at the go-kart track.
I did.
So, Melissa, how did you manage being a crew chief for the first time versus your previous racing experience? Like, how do you transition there?
Well, first of all, I was not the crew chief. I was the lead technician.
Whatever.
But no, I mean, I've been kind of like working into doing more of this anyways over the last couple of years. So in 2017, well, no one knew it, but I was knocked up and couldn't race for half the season. So I kind of, you know, in the family way. Yeah. So I was, you know, I kind of started just with the Junior Cup stuff. So a couple years of that. And then actually like last year, there was this plan, this kid, Chris, you know about this, like all winter long, people from other countries email you and ask you, how much would it cost for me to come race over in America next year? And so you spend all this time and you put together proposals and budgets and do all this shit. And I had worked out a deal with this kid, and it was like literally he had the contract and I had a narrow window to get a motorcycle from Yamaha so that I could get one that I could afford and start building it. And so I spent a bunch of my own money, and then the kid backed out. So suddenly I had an R6 and a bunch of parts I'd already ordered because I'm an idiot, and no one to ride it and no one to pay to ride it. And so Josh ended up racing a bunch of MotoAmerica rounds in Super Sport. And that was like really cool because Josh is obviously, you know, he's fast, but he's also pretty, I don't know, Richard, would you agree? He's pretty technical. Like you can talk to him about
Absolutely.
how motors. Yeah. Like, so it was really cool because I got to work with a rider who would like he wouldn't come in and say, put 2 turns of preload in. He would come in and tell me what the bike was doing. And then I would say, this is what I think. And he would kind of say, yeah, you're right, or no, you're totally effing wrong. And so it was like having these like training wheels to start like learning how to make a motorcycle work, and it was really cool. So then like fast forward to this year, like I was kind of sad at the end of last year because I felt like it felt like no one was ever gonna like want me to work for them. I commented to a couple of people that it's a lot easier as a female racer in the paddock than it is as a female mechanic. I kind of felt like no one took me seriously. And when Cam Peterson got that deal at Altus and he asked me if I'd come along with him, I was like so stoked. Like it was such a great opportunity, and getting to work with him again, like it was like training wheels with a rider because you can talk to him about stuff, and he's not the kind of guy where if you go 2 clicks the wrong way, he's a second a lap slower. Like he does the same lap time and goes, oh, it was just like a lot harder to do it, you know? So I was really lucky in that way that he's like got a good head on his shoulders when it comes to stuff like that. So he's easy to work with, and nothing other than some brake stuff was ever really catastrophic, like as far as tuning the bike. So yeah. So, I mean, that part's cool. I just, like, it does suck. Like, I miss riding. Like, I'm at the flat track now because I didn't get to ride it all summer, it felt like. But it feels really good to get to be part of a team that's winning and, like, learning so much. And, yeah, all that stuff.
Well, look good on the outside looking in.
Yeah, it didn't look so good up close.
That's usually the case with every team.
I mean, when I saw you at Laguna, I walked up to you, and the first thing I said to you was, I'm so proud of you because I know where you came from.
I know. It was really weird because, like, usually you walk up to me and say, like, something really rude to me. So I was like, what's coming next? Are you, like, about to tell me you're dying or something?
Oh,
no, but, yeah, that was really nice of you. But, yeah, it was hard getting there. And, like, I mean, I think probably all these other guys on this panel probably saw me like ugly crying earlier in the season in Atlanta, like sobbing my eyes out over shit that was going on. And, you know, there's like a lot of really hard.
I saw Kyle doing that at Ridge.
Yeah, I think I saw that too, actually. There's actually so much crying in road racing, it turns out. There's a lot of crying in road racing. But yeah, I mean, like a lot of hard lessons to learn and stuff like that. But I mean, we won in the end, so it's worth it.
I was in the middle of that whole thing, so good job. You did a good job managing it, and I was happy to be able to help you guys and make that happen. You know.
So Chris, Marcus wants to know, what were the differences between the two Superbikes under your tent this year? Because, you know, it looked like one rider was ripping from the jump and the other rider was on the struggle bus.
Oh yeah, I've been waiting for this question all night. Nothing.
Basically, I'm just gonna phrase it the way Richard phrased it. What the fuck took you so long?
Nothing. Nothing was different. In fact, the 24 bike got the first pick of swing arms and any old cool stuff that came in, and then it went to Bobby. So look, so the rider was different. Bobby's guys and Bobby's crew looked at the bike in a different way because they had zero experience with it, and they went a different direction. And then when they solved some of the issues that the other side of the team were having in terms of the complaint with grip and everything else, they applied those to that bike, and you know, eventually adapted, and then, you know, started going pretty good by the end of the season. So you know, it's no big difference, just a different way of thinking. And I mean, look, if you got grip issues, right, Richard, what do you know, one way to change some things is to put some load into whatever end you're trying to get grip out of. Great pitch, load, that loads the tire, the bike goes forward. Well, if one rider doesn't like the bike pitching, that's a problem. The other rider doesn't care if the bike pitches. He's got grip, he goes forward. So, you know, just difference in setup, difference in preference, and, you know, we eventually got it right for him.
So no differences in the bike overall, like Richard says, like both his bikes are exactly the same, right?
Well, look, Tony had a different swing arm than Bobby.
Oh, he did?
But it was because Bobby got the swing arm that Tony rejected. So, you know, and Bobby made it work, and Bobby's crew made it work. So, beyond that, same bike, same engine, same electronics guy, same, you know.
So what do you think it was that took Tony so much longer to get going?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. No, you know, look, I don't think actually it was a matter of him taking so long to get going. I think it was a matter of that Jake Gagne and Cameron Bobier and Bobby Fong and Matthew Schultz all made a step. And in that time, Tony made a step too, because if you look at the first race weekend that we had, like, was Cam on the 10s that weekend? Or the
Sorry?
First race, and Cam went one. The first, we rolled out of the truck at MotoAmerica 1. Cam went 1.4 faster than he'd gone the year before. Gagne, since he was, you know, on Shiby's bike, probably went a lot faster. You know, just because it was an older model BMW, and he was probably still had a broken leg. Bobby went 11.6 or 11.2, I think, that weekend. And that was more or less a second faster than the Yosh guys went the year before. So it wasn't like there was all of a sudden, oh my God, everyone slowed down. It's just like that front five went a lot faster. So, dude, everyone was riding their balls off. It just, the results of the people, the chunks of the people where they ended up was different. You know, so you look at the results and go, oh crap, you know, this guy's got a problem. But I mean, dude, everyone was hauling ass. Kyle, how much faster did you go year over year between those two, dude? It's like the whole field.
I think over a second. Like we were, you know, high 13s. We ended up doing like a mid or high 12 in the races, you know. So yeah.
12-3 race 2 in 2019, and probably what, I don't know, 10-9 or something, won it. And, you know, I have to go back and get the sheet out and actually know, because we've had a lot of races since then. But
yeah, I mean, we don't got to go like full Greg White over here.
No, fair enough. But like, I'm just saying, you know, no, there's no big difference that would have changed the thing, right? Changed the bike, you know, a little bit different setup, swing arms, everything, you know, but it wasn't like it was something that was somewhere off on Mars. So I don't know, you know.
I mean, I can't like speak for it. Do you ever like wonder too, though, like, I don't know, as a rider, sometimes if I got off like one R6 that was like my bike that I rode forever, and then like got onto one that was like almost the same as it, but kind of a little bit different, it would almost be easier to get onto a completely different make. And like, I feel like Bobby was jumping on into something that he had like no preconceived idea about, you know, and Tony was going from something that like felt like home to him to something that was like, you know, kind of like home, but like the walls are painted a different color and the fucking couch looks different. And so like, you're trying to make it do this thing that feels like home, but like, it's not exactly the same thing anymore. So like, I mean, I think sometimes that's like harder than coming into something completely new with like no idea about it at all.
No, actually, like the couch was the same color.
Oh, all right.
I mean, they were
Never mind then.
So it was like Chuck always refers to it's like putting on that old pair of jeans. It was the old pair of jeans. They just didn't fit anymore. Is that, I mean,
I don't know. Maybe the drapes actually, okay, going back to Melissa's thing, the drapes were different because the truck was different color and
but I mean, even just like different personnel around you. And like, that's not saying that it wasn't as good. It's just different, like different people, a different team, a different whatever, like riders. Like, I'm sorry, like all of us involved in riding and racing to some degree are fucking mental midgets. So like, it's just hard when like change is hard sometimes, you know what I mean? So like, I just wonder, like, obviously Tony's super talented and obviously your team is really talented, but like, it's just something was like a little bit different. So maybe it just like to some degree takes a minute to like make it feel like home again. I don't know.
I think that is the case actually, because we had two of the similar types of situations. One with Kawasaki in 2009, when they decided to basically dump our team and give us their team. And we end up with Hacking and Roger, and both guys were super upset that the Superbike program went away. Their salaries got cut, and now they're riding on a team that they didn't feel was the factory team, the in-house team. We were known as the outhouse team, I guess. But, but anyway, so I could see the change in Hacking from the year before, where he just didn't have that same drive, being on a 600, being on a different team, even though he had basically the same crew. They moved the whole crew over, same crew chief and same technical guys. He just was completely mentally screwed. And that same thing could have happened this year with Cam and not so much Jake, because he was going in something new, but you know, I feared that same thing would happen this year because we got such a bad deal in 2009. But unfortunately for us, it didn't go that way. He fell in love with the bike and we got along well and everything went actually better than I hoped. But yeah, for sure that can go that way. And I kind of saw a little bit of that from the outside looking in with Tony, whether it was, I think it was just as much a mental thing, but I don't know. I didn't work with him. So Chris can elaborate on that, but I did kind of get that same sensation.
Yeah, there was for sure a transition, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, look, I'm not in his head, and you know, he was going really well by the end of the season. So you know, maybe those first 6 races or before, I think everything really turned around. Started the progress of turning around when he went to at New Jersey, when he figured out some things to get him some more grip. And continued. He went quicker than he did last year at Barber, and then Indy was on pole, and then at Laguna he had 3 podiums. And so, you know, and plus he was leading the race when he crashed in the race 3. So by the end of the season, you know, he you know, that was good. By Sunday we'd already known that he was gonna go do something else. And I think that once he made that decision, that weight came off his shoulders, that might have helped alleviate things and get him going. But I mean, he showed up in town at Indy like they hit the jackpot. In reality, he was in a good place, and he made it happen.
So Kyle's question from Marcus is, what benefit is it having Ducati help you out from overseas? And is there any possibilities of you being like official team Ducati in the US?
Well, I think there's definitely a benefit because I get to work with those guys directly. I get to talk to, Giovanni Krupi and Fausto or Scott Redding's crew chief and electronics guy in World Superbike. Talk to them all the time. I talked to Giovanni today about, used parts they have coming through because they're building all new bikes next year in the Aruba team, and just trying to get a couple used bits from those guys. It's big because, when we hit some big roadblocks in the middle of the season with parts, they really helped us out with a few things that they could let go, for a lot less than maybe, we would have bought if they were new, and kept us going throughout the year. So I think it's, I have a really good relationship with Ducati, and we are actually a Ducati supported team. We got a lot of help mid-season, beginning of the season with, a couple engines and things to keep us kind of growing. And, we actually do have support. And, next year, who knows what's going to come. I think, obviously I'm committing to staying with that program for the next year. Like we talk about consistency year over year over year. With this program's not fully matured yet. So, getting a bike like we saw out at Indy and Laguna, that's a big task, not only just to get it, but to maintain that level of equipment for a full season's a lot of work, a lot of budget. So, I'm kind of taking the scenic route with this Ducati program where, we started with stock motorcycles and built them up from there as we went, instead of just getting the RS like every other team in the world in the national series has done. So, we've definitely, not had the ability to shortcut a lot of the things, but we have a great relationship with those guys. And, we're going racing next year for sure, to do it at the level that, the Corsa guys came over and did the last 2 rounds takes a lot. So we're going to continue kind of building what we have and try to, invest in depth of spares and things that we struggled with this year, and learned a lot this year about preparation for sure.
So this is a question that basically the dude asked the same question for all of you. So like, what does it take? What's this guy's name? Let me get the guy's name real quick, because it's like a bunch.
Dave.
Longman, David Longman. He basically is like, Melissa, what does it take to be a great crew chief? What does it take to be a championship team owner? Whatever. Like, it's basically, what does it take to be the best at what you guys are doing?
Ask Richard.
Hard work.
Yes.
Yeah. Hard work.
Probably like some varying degrees of mental illness.
That too.
For sure.
I was giving Chris shit about it earlier, about how he's a Superbike team owner and there's no such thing as sleep, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's some sleep. I mean, look, Richard's the king of the no sleep, so I'm not even complaining.
Stop. All of you guys can stop. I've got a 2.5-year-old.
Sorry.
Don't fucking talk to me about sleep.
I forgot about the food source here. I apologize. That's true.
I'm a mom. There's no sleep.
Yeah. That's number one. You're the number one.
At something.
Apparently you win. You win at that.
Something. I win at no sleep.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. And then let's see. Matt Caneva, he wants to know, he's like a Ducati club racer guy. And he wants to know from Kyle, is the V4 intrinsically competitive with the inline fours? Or is there anything that the Ducati package that makes your job harder?
I mean, there's just as much that, makes it harder. I just make it harder on myself in some ways, I mean, the bike's definitely, it's a little fussy as far as like, the changes you make and kind of the thought paths you have with, you know, making changes and making improvements on the bike. Sometimes what, you know, you think A plus B equals C, and then it spits out something else. You know, you make a change that you think is going to, you know, solve your issue. So like there were a lot of times, and like we actually like race 1 to race 2 throughout the whole season. Most of the time we finished higher and went quicker on Saturday than we did Sunday. And that's a big problem. You know, we need to be able to continuously progress throughout the weekend. And it kind of goes back to like what Chris was talking about with Tony's progression and like developing a motorcycle. It's very hard to just make continuous steps forward unless you're really in tune with your motorcycle. You've got really good testing. You know, it's easy to take steps backward, put yourself in a position where you're gambling for the race, and it could go one of two ways. You try to make educated, you know, changes, but you know, we didn't test. You know, we went and tested at Barber, and that's about it. You know, we didn't get on the bike much else because it just costs a lot of money. Like Richard's saying, you know, it just takes a lot to compete at this level. You know, we keep moving forward, but you know, what the Ducati has done for me and my program from a marketing standpoint and the fan base that I've been able to build and tap into far outweighs any other challenges we have. And honestly, we have a really good relationship with the manufacturer. So, you know, that's more than I could say with any other program I had with any other bike before. You know, I mean, it's we're in a good spot. So just going to keep pushing from here.
So here's a good question, and Melissa might be able to help with this, but like, what does it take to become part of a factory team pit crew, whether it's a mechanic, suspension, data guy, whatever?
I don't know. I've never worked for a factory team. Hey, Richard, are you hiring? Because I don't have a job.
We don't have a factory team.
Yeah.
How about you? You got any jobs for me over there at M4?
You gotta talk to my agent.
As far as I can tell, it takes just telling people you need a job and begging, more or less. Kyle, will you hire me?
Didn't I text you yesterday asking what you're doing next year?
Yeah, I mean, I think like part of it is like I've talked to a couple of girls I know who are like interested in getting involved in that side of racing, and I always tell them the best thing you can do is like find a club racer and like go volunteer to help a club racer and go learn what you can there. And then once you get some experience, like, you know, start talking to MotoAmerica teams, and you can't have any pride about it. You have to say like, hey, Richard, do you need anyone to clean wheels and run them to Dunlop back and forth? Because that might be what you're doing for a while. And then just take the opportunities to learn what you can along the way, you know?
Yeah, if somebody wanted that position at Attack, they'd probably have to fight William over it.
No, it's Fernando.
Oh, is it Fernando that does that?
Yeah. Fernando's highly overqualified to be a tire runner, put it that way. The guy's his full-time job is an electronics guy, but he shows up for fun, and you know, we pay him a little bit for his expenses, but he pretty much does it out of love, and that's the way a lot of people start.
Yeah, I mean, there's like, it's crazy to me, like some of the amazing shit you see walking through our paddock. Like you've got Rich Doan parking the semis on Thursday, and it's like that guy knows so much shit. Like, you know what I mean? And he's like parking trucks. Like, there's no hope for me to like get a job doing something else if that guy's parking the trucks. You know what I mean?
You'd be surprised. People definitely cycle out eventually. You know, like some people are just gonna go. Just they get old in the tooth and they're gonna go away, or whether they don't fit in that group anymore. The team structure is more about personalities getting along. If you can't go to dinner with somebody, you probably shouldn't be working at the racetrack with them.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
I can speak to that.
Yeah.
That's the hardest part of this whole game is to get the group together. And it's like, it's taken me a couple of years to now. I got a pretty good group under the one truck, and I got a pretty good group under the second truck. But it's like, sometimes you still got to remind them that, hey, bud, this ain't a social club. We're here to be professional and do a job. And when you get that many egos, you know, because I mean, there's a lot of egos in this sport, and you get that many egos going, sometimes you get some problems. But lately I've been able to, the last couple of seasons, I've been able to kind of get the group together that will talk across the aisle, respect each other. They still want to win, right? But they also have the mentality that if the 24 bike wins, the team wins. If the 50 bike wins, the team wins. If the 40 bike wins, the team wins. The 23 bike wins. It's a group effort, right? The whole team wins. If one bike wins, the whole team wins. If we're all being successful, and that's probably the hardest part of the thing is get some of these guys, especially the more old school guys, to be able to look at that and go, oh, okay, look past their nose and their own personal ambitions to make sure, the notes get shared, everything else. And that's management kind of comes in management comes in and reminds them of that. But just work hard and don't have a massive ego and don't tell people how smart you are.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like the thing I'm the best at is admitting what I don't know how to do. Like, I've got zero ego when it comes to like telling someone like, I don't know how to do that, but like, if you'll please show me how to do it, I'll make sure that I never have to ask you again, So like I've seen a lot of that, especially like when I was coming up like club racing, because I always assumed that if someone came to me and like spoke confidently, it meant that they knew what they were talking about. And as a result, I wrote some really stupid shit sometimes because like, I just like thought confident people must actually know what they were talking about. And like, I'm learning the more I've been like around road racing, especially like getting to be a fly on the wall, like at Factory Yamaha when Josh was there, like the people that don't talk a lot are usually the smart people, like those are usually the ones you should go ask to show you how to do something,
Yamaha's got a pretty good ability to choose some pretty level-headed people. Because we adopted some of their crew this year, and I was a little worried about that. The change causes stress. So for those guys, there's a big change coming over to this side and try to blend in with the guys we already had to do a 2-rider deal, and along with new riders and all that. So definitely the personality side. That was the best part. Probably one of the best parts of our team was everyone got along really well. And that's super important for me because that takes a lot of stress off me as a team owner, crew chief, whatever you want to call it. If there's any kind of infighting and things like that, it wears on you. You think about it, you're not so focused.
Yeah. I remember Josh telling me a story about when he rode for you, Richard, and he got into like some sort of a kerfluffle at a tire test at Daytona with Matt Mladen. And you got on the radio and told his guy, just tell Josh, remember, we're not a team, we're a gang.
Yeah, I remember that.
That's something that, like, I mean, it sounds silly. It's like a romantic racing story, but it's like really stuck with me. And like with Cam this year, we had a little situation with like another rider and things got pretty heated and there was shouting. And like, you know what? Like at the end of the day, like, he crossed a line on the racetrack that meant we lost the position and stuff. But like, I just had that feeling like the team should stand in front of their rider no matter what and like defend him to the bitter end. Like no matter what it is, like whether that's staying up all night to put a motorcycle back together, like at the detriment of your own mental and physical health, or whether that's like getting into a brawl with another team, like whatever you have to do, like you are a gang. And I feel like when you have that like camaraderie and the rider feels it, like, I don't know, I felt like for Cam and I, that's why we got on so well. Like he trusted me because he knew like if I had to throw myself in front of a bus for him to win, like, well, this is going to hurt, but here goes nothing, So I don't know. Like, I think that part's like really important, like that between all the team members, but especially between the team and the rider, that trust.
That's super important. Like the big difference between Bobby Fong 2018 and Bobby Fong 2019 was he felt like we believed in him. We wanted to help him. We wanted him to be there. And then he paid us back by winning. And so, same thing. I'm probably a bit protective of SDK on some things, but when he was in trouble and needed some help on stuff, I made sure I went to bat for him. You got to have that. You got to have that from not only team management, but also the crew chief and the team in general. I mean, I've been in situations where the team bailed on me, and it's bad, man. It took me years to recover from that as a racer, and it was amazing what that did to my head and how many years it took me to get back to being competitive. And I was never as good as I was before it happened. And So, man, we make sure on that stuff, right? Especially like Tony's situation, right? This year, 2017 Superbike Championship, 2010 Moto2 Championship, we made sure that it was always coming along and there was not any, hey, Chuck.
Holy
Chuck's
crap,
here.
he's
But
alive.
finish that before Chuck gets here. There wasn't,
Yay!
standpoint, he made sure that we were supporting him all year, and he eventually got around. How you feeling, Chuck?
I'm back, baby! Woohoo! Yeah, Meli!
Yay, you're alive!
Chuck Giachetto, what's up, man?
What is that silly thing on your head?
Yeah.
These guys, oh no, that's my mask. That was my mask. Dude, these guys freaked me the fuck out. I'm gonna go home, dude. My wife's gonna beat the shit out of me. I was yelling and screaming. I had a tantrum. Hey, whoever is listening, make sure you take care of your diabetes. Oh my God, am I glad to see you fucking maniacs.
Wow. We're glad to see you, man.
Woo woo!
You were kicking and screaming and making a fool out of yourself, so nothing changed.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, weren't we just there?
Normal behavior.
Oh, I know. Hey, look, you guys are busy. I'm gonna listen in, and if something comes up, then it comes up. But I'm listening, man. Bring it.
All right, lay off the Pop-Tarts, Chucky.
Well, you know what? Just since you're on, I got something for you from Rich Grabowski.
The big Grabowski.
Grabowski wants to know who has the best Philly cheesesteak, Gino's or Tony Luke's?
What? I will fight somebody.
I have to, I try to remember back when we first met Rich, that maniac asked me what my address was, and about 4 months later, I came home, and at my gate, the UPS man, there was a cooler there, like this big fucking styrofoam cooler, like you used to use at the beach. And dude, it was from the steak and cheese joint. They freeze dried like a half a dozen of these mammoth steak and cheese, and Rich sent them to the family like he said he was going to. So whatever that place was, that's the best. And I'm saying that for Rich.
Okay.
Right there.
Hey, check it out, man. I got my EKG patches on and shit.
Wow.
Hey, dude, when you pull those things off, like how much like chest hair is gonna come with them?
All of it.
Hey, so the guy came in.
I don't have that many patches.
Yeah, the guy came in, and I felt so bad. I was half asleep, and he yanked on one of them. I almost started crying, and he's like, "Oh, sorry, man. Look, I'm gonna leave these on. Just go home and shower with them, and they'll come right off." I'm like, "Yeah, right."
Yeah, right.
Oh.
Enough about me. Let's talk about some road racing.
Okay, so let's see. William
I cut Chris off. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay.
He was just rambling anyway.
That's all we do on these things. That's why I love it so much.
You know what? Anybody watch Apocalypse Now?
Yes.
The movie?
Yes.
No.
What does Chuck remind you of right now?
Oh my God.
The guy at the end, Colonel Kurtz.
What movie, Rich?
Apocalypse Now.
Oh yeah, I am Colonel. Hey, look, I would. I'm down with Colonel.
We lost him.
Now he's in a jar.
I said I'm down with Colonel Kurtz.
Okay. All right. So William Lampkin wants to know if you guys build bikes to go racing, or if you go racing to build bikes. And the confused look on Melissa's face is priceless.
Just go straight to Richard, because I don't make them, I just break them.
You just gonna like build up.
What was that question again? Do we build bikes to go racing? Yes.
Yeah.
Do we go racing?
Do we go racing in order to build bikes?
Do we go racing in order to build bikes?
Yes.
I suppose. I mean, we do, but we usually build bikes to go racing.
Okay.
I can think of a lot cheaper ways to build bikes. Just build a bike.
Yeah.
Or just buy one.
A trick little dirt bike.
I don't even ride on the street, man. I build bikes to go racing.
So, and also David Longman, I'm just going to throw another one at Chuck since he's late to the party. He wants to know what makes Matthew Scults so easy on the eyes?
Did a fucking man actually ask that? Was that a man?
Yeah, it was a man, David Longman.
I read that.
Hey, here's a problem that I've learned because I worked with another South African. Is there's some sort of like, if you try to put like two of the same ends of a magnet together, that's like the same thing that happens to South African men in t-shirts, apparently. Like they can't keep a fucking shirt on. Like, what is the deal? Like, do you own a shirt? Put a shirt on.
I mean,
that's all.
Again, Mel, I'm with you. And look, each to their own sexual orientation. Matt, I'm sure to some people is easy on the eyes. I always say he's chiseled because he is. The guy's ripped to shreds. He's the most fit guy in the paddock. Easy on the eyes.
No. Jake is the most fit guy in the paddock.
Yeah, none of them.
What?
None of them are no Josh Hayes. None of them are no Josh Hayes.
Oh my God! Look, I'm gonna say it. Dustin, I said it last week, right? And they start going Jake Gagne. I go nope. But Jake Gagne, nope. And then Jake, nope. Matthew, oh my God, is the most. He would bury Jake in any kind of a physical competition. He would bury him, and I love Jake, but he'd bury him.
This is getting super awkward. Like, are we gonna grease him up and like rate them against one another?
Oh hey! Oh.
What was it like Pit Daddy again? You guys remember the Pit Daddy in 02?
Yeah, I've seen pictures.
I found some pictures of that the other day. Bad.
Sorry, guys. I was just working out in the other room so I can become the fittest guy in the paddock.
I mean, hey, Kyle, for what it's worth, you're married to a freaking beauty queen, so you probably should go do that.
Gotta retain that.
Man.
Okay, so Cameron is probably not the fittest guy in the paddock, but she sure is freaking fast.
So the question I'm getting a ton from people is, who's going to fill Cameron and Tony's shoes? And Dovey's available.
I hear that.
Not.
Yeah.
Dovey.
Chaz Davies?
Dovey's not available.
Chaz Davies is available.
Al Crutchlow?
Dovey's like going on sabbatical. He's going
right. That's right. I think we're all going to know what's going on when Road Racing World prints it first.
We're just going to wait for the press release, man.
Yeah, I mean, Richard's famous thing is, talk to the guys in blue, right? So,
he is the guy in blue.
I'm not the guy in blue. I'm just another tool in their toolbox.
Are you the man in black?
Richard just told me that the other day on a text. He goes, I am a tool in the YMUS toolbox. And I said, I understand that.
Right. So no Cal Crutchlow and no Dovizioso.
I think that we've talked to those guys before in the past, last year, before we did the JD thing. And I think those guys are in for a rude awakening if they think they're going to come here and make the kind of money they're making over there.
Right.
Because the salaries are still pretty good over there. I've had a chance to see some of them. And so if it's just about money, they're probably not going to come here. If it's something about more than money. And, one of the things that I had this conversation with Laverty last year, and then he ended up getting a job with Ducati or wherever. And he arrived from Milwaukee and he wanted to come here. And I said, do you have any connections in Milwaukee? Can you come bring enough money at least to cover your salary? And he's like, no, I don't know anyone. It's like, how can you ride for a team like that and not shake enough hands and ensure your future by being able to maybe possibly bring some sponsorship to a team? Like Kyle does a good job of finding money. He's the rider, so I don't understand what some of these guys do. I guess they've been up there so long that they just forget how to shake hands and meet the right people and try to do that networking, which is so important. I mean, it's done in car racing. A lot of the car racers will bring sponsors to a team, and that's how the team functions. A lot of times the sponsors go with the talent.
Rich, let's face it. I mean, the MotoGP grid is essentially like that now, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, and I think that I think I shouldn't speak for racers, but I can tell you, looking on and spending the money that we do, and you, Rich, out of pocket, and Chris, and all of us, Kyle especially. I think people are a little jaded and riders are jaded and they're going to do this and they're going to do that. And they talk a big game, but at the end, you have to bring something to the party that's worth something. Like it might not need to be money, but it has to be something really strong when you want to, when you want to come to this party. And I think some of those guys are getting tired. And do I believe that Laverty had no connections? I totally believe that, because I think he probably had somebody do it for him his whole career. And I don't know that guy, so I might be speaking out of turn, but a lot of these guys have handlers and keepers, and they just wait for somebody to roll up on them. You know, I've not seen anything like it in a long time.
So did Melandri. He had an agent. That agent,
right, I remember that.
Was all one way. Give me money. It wasn't, I can bring this to your program.
It's
I remember that conversation.
I'm just befuddled with all that.
It's incredible, because I figured this out from a very young age about, you know, what makes the rolls go around on the truck, right? Money, everything, you know. So even when I was racing YSRs, my dad made me send sponsorship proposals to guys to get, you know, whether it's a discount or some one free tiny part for a 50 or 80 or whatever we were doing, just so I had that stuck in my head. But man, I've been contacted by a few European agents in the last couple of seasons, and I explained to one, I asked them if they brought any budget, and then the dude responded, "I don't think you understand. You know, my rider's a world champion MotoGP rider. He does not bring budget." And I was like, "Cool, dude. See ya."
Yeah,
right.
like Chris, you and I think have both been approached by this same guy a couple years ago.
Hey, Melissa, I don't mean to interrupt. What's
Yeah.
Hayes doing here? Hayes wasn't invited. Hayes was not invited.
He's just here. He's just. I needed him to stay long enough to help me load my bike in the truck because I'm not strong enough.
And
but,
he's like, hey, if that guy's in the hospital, I'm taking his slot.
You know what, you guys? We are way over like an hour and a half already.
Yeah, so
I think we should wrap this thing unless you guys have anything else to talk about.
That's code for Chuck.
I mean, we can go all day, dude. Like, we can go all night. Richard said 4 hours, but what was that?
Chuck just showed up to the party, dude. Where's all the questions?
Okay, well, Melissa, you go ahead and go, and we're gonna keep going.
Jackson, well, I got Josh here now. Now I'm good. I thought Josh was leaving me at the track by myself.
Do you honestly believe that?
What's that?
Hey,
you honestly believe he would ditch you?
Yes, 100%.
He would? He's nodding.
Yeah, he absolutely.
She's
would.
A big girl.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I'm gonna check out because I gotta drive home and I gotta go get some prescriptions done. But man, I'm super happy that you did this, Dustin, and I'm glad I got 5 minutes or so in, and I'm gonna go back tonight and I'm gonna watch the show when it's done. I'm sure you guys had a hell of a good time, and I look forward to doing it with you guys again. And I really hope you keep this up for the next season because I think it brings a lot. And you know what's funny is you're starting to get a bit of a following because I'm starting to get some PMs and you're starting to get some PMs, and I think it's pretty cool, right? So
I have a quick question, Dustin.
Yes.
For you. So I kind of went and browsed your YouTube channel there, and there's always like one guy that gives you a thumbs down.
Yeah.
Who's that guy? Do you want me to take care of him for you?
I think it's Chris.
And sometimes it's two guys that give you a thumbs down.
Josh, yeah.
Or maybe they're giving me a thumbs down. I have no idea.
That's
Giacchetto's video had all kinds of thumbs down.
Wait, but is it like the same guy? Is it the same guy giving a thumbs down?
I don't know.
I can't see who it is, but yeah, like every
that would
video,
be so like cool because that'd be like, but you're still watching.
Yeah.
Right. We're still.
I can't figure out if it's Dustin or me.
Oh man. Well, I really appreciate all you guys joining this thing. I mean, you know, thanks for everybody watching too. You know, hope you guys subscribe if you like it and all that. But dude, thank you guys for joining. Chris, you're a good sport. You know, Chuck, you dialed in from the hospital parking lot. Like, what the hell is wrong with you, man?
I'm so fucking happy to be out of here. It's incredible.
Jesus.
Yeah, so I think we should just wrap this thing and let Melissa do motorbike stuff some more, and we'll hit you guys up next time.
And miss you guys already, and we'll see you soon, well before the season starts. Go easy.
Later.
Thanks for having me. Bye.
Yeah.